Hey, Luke, what is Laundromat Resource?
That's a great question. We've got the man behind it with us today, Jordan Berry, and we're going to answer that question right now. Welcome back to another episode of the Williford Brothers. We are your hosts, Luke and
Lee Williford.
We are honored to be joined today by our friend Jordan Berry from the Laundromat Resource. Jordan, great to have you.
Man, the honor is all mine. I feel like I'm in the presence of royalty right now, to be honest with you. Genuinely. Thank you, guys.
You're very welcome. We're humbled for you to be here.
Absolutely. So you've done some amazing things in connecting our industry, really highlighting some of people in our industry with your podcast, Laundromat Resource, and just the whole Laundromat Resource brand. Tell us a little bit about yourself, maybe before laundry, how you got into laundry, and what was the mission behind Laundromat Resource. I've been grateful to watch it grow from just a idea to what it is today.
Yeah, you were there in the beginning. Well, so pre-Laundromat Resource and pre-Laundromats for me, before they were even on my radar at all, I was a pastor for 15 years, working primarily with youth and college-age students, and then some adults after that. Loved it, loved every single minute of it, almost. But then I had young kids, and ministry's tough, man. It's a lot on your time, and so it's just time to take a break from that vocationally, and so got out of that. But I got out of that without a plan on what to do with life, and so we're trying to figure out, my wife and I trying to figure out what to do, and I had this genius idea. I was like, hey, let's take our house that we have in Southern California, let's rent it out, let's take the chunk of money we have in the bank, and let's go buy a place on the beach in Hawaii, small place, until our kids are school-aged. We can do whatever, sell jewelry on the beach or whatever, and
all gypsy.
Yeah, and then when our kids are school age, we can come back to SoCal and continue life, and then we'll have a net gain of a place in Hawaii on the beach. And I thought that was a great idea. My wife said, well, or we could buy a laundromat, and here I am.
So it wasn't even your idea.
It was not my idea at all. And
amazing how wives can dominate.
I know. And to be perfectly honest with you, so we did. We bought a laundromat, and it did not go well. It did not go well at all. We made some pretty big mistakes, and with promises of large amounts of passive income from the broker and stuff, to the punch in the gut of, hey, no, you're losing thousands of dollars every single month.
Wow. Yeah.
With really nowhere to turn. I did not know who to talk to, where to turn, where to go to get help to figure this thing out. It was just a painful experience. So that was my foray into the business, but it did kind of plant the seed for Laundromat Resource too.
Absolutely, and gave you a reason. That's kind of your backstory. You wanted to, you basically got taken advantage of, and your heart is to help others so that doesn't happen to them.
Yes.
Yeah, well,
is that right?
Yes. It's like everything, right? There's some mixed motives in there, right? So I'll just share my dirty little secret with you guys here. A big part of why I started Laundromat Resource, at least the podcast part of it, just talk to people like you, because I was like, there's a lot to learn in this business, and I want to get better. And to be honest, man, I have no business sitting with you guys who are just doing incredible stuff in this industry, both on your personal business level, but also just for the industry, this podcast, your Instagram account, your social media stuff. You guys are doing awesome stuff for the industry. And I started it, yes, because I want to help other people. And I thought, I have paid, six figures easy, well into the six figures, to learn the lessons that I've learned.
We call that the stupid tax here.
Yeah, the stupid tax I have paid, in spades. And, I still, honestly, I still continue to pay that, as I'm still cleaning up mistakes, years later.
Absolutely.
Right? And so, but I was like, so I started a blog, and then I started a little YouTube channel to share those lessons. I'm like, nobody needs to learn the lessons I learned
That's awesome.
the way that I learned them.
It didn't manifest in your heart, didn't become bitterness, and then you become sour and some grumpy old man.
I mean, it did for a little bit, to be honest.
I'm sure that you had to sit in that emotion for a while.
Yeah. So it turned into that. But then when I was like, thinking about starting a podcast, the whole idea behind it was, yes, I want people to hear from guys like you, guys like Dave Mins, just so many people who've been on the podcast. But also, I just wanted to, I have no business being in a room with you guys, but if I have a podcast, then at least I'll get to talk to you and pick your brains, and I could design it to where I could ask the questions that I want to know, and I know other people want to know too, and learn myself. So that's the kind of mixed motive there, but that's sort of the birth story.
And it creates friendships, man. And now I've got a friend on the wrong coast.
Left coast.
The left coast.
Best coast. West coast, best coast.
He calls us the least coast. But you can see where he flew to be here. We're here in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, on the East Coast. But
and I'll be honest, this is pretty rad. This is pretty nice.
Really cool.
Yeah.
It is really cool.
And there's no state income tax here.
Okay, all right. Well, we tax through the wazoo. So.
Well, cool. That's great. So, what's the question you got for him, Lee? You got anything burning?
What are some of the hardest things that you had to come through in dealing with transitioning? I just wanted to focus on this transition from I have been screwed over in my entry into this industry, and now here you are as the MC of a fantastic conference. What did that look like? How did that feel?
Well, it looked like a lot of years of struggling with my laundromats.
Mm-hmm.
I have 2, and
so you didn't come out of the gate just like uber successful, like everybody told you you were going to do.
Money didn't fall. I thought it just
fall out of the
rains
sky.
down.
I'm waiting for it. It doesn't rain a lot in California. Apparently, it doesn't rain money a lot in California for me either. Some people, I guess, No, so I mean, it looked like a lot of struggle. It looked like a lot of, paying the stupid tax. It looked like a lot of. I mean, not only was I losing money, but it was. The laundromat that I bought was a dangerous situation, and so and that's not a typical case, for people. So I just want to make that clear. But it was a dangerous situation. So it was a lot of work to get those laundromats into some kind of shape where they were, making money and also a safe place to be for myself, but also for my customers.
By dangerous situation, you mean it's just a rough area. It had become the path of least resistance for homeless and loitering and crimes. Is that?
Yeah. So, I mean, I would literally show up and there were needles there. There was a gang who basically that was their
trying to dominate
turf.
the territory.
Yeah. And so I found that, when I came in, I retooled and everything as I was told to do, which was a good move. But what I didn't know was rehabbing the reputation of the laundromat was going to be far harder than rehabbing the actual laundromat. And so, I mean, it was tough to get the people out who needed to be out. And it took a long time. And it kind of happened in waves. I'd get them out, and then they'd kind of come back. And then I get them out, and they kind of come back.
Yep.
So, and it's something I still have to be diligent about.
Yeah.
So anyways, going back to your question, so it took a lot of struggle to do that, and then it just took kind of put myself out there, right? Like, it's hard. Like, dude, knowing that I am probably the world's worst laundromat owner, and and to that point, like I kept reading, so I'm like, having to do all this stuff myself because I'm losing all this money, and so I'm like mopping up after homeless people in the middle of the night, thinking about that beach house in Hawaii that I could have been sleeping in right now, and I'm like thinking about these stats that I'm hearing, right? Like, laundromat's 95% success rate and all that stuff, and I'm like, how is it possible
You had made your way into the 5%.
that I'm in the 5%? Like, how is it that I'm so bad at this that I can't even be in the vast majority who are at least breaking even, right? Mm-hmm. And so that was really hard to kind of deal with.
Yeah.
And so, starting a blog and a YouTube video and then eventually a podcast, was kind of hard to do because I was also dealing with these feelings of like, man, and honestly, like I had no business other than I've learned some really difficult lessons that I felt like I could share. Like I'm not an expert like I would say you guys are, in the business in that same way. And so it was hard to like kind of put myself out there knowing that criticisms were probably going to come and they were probably going to be legitimate, and so that's why when I started stuff, I was like, well, if I'm going to do it, I just have to like let everybody know, like, here's my situation. It was not good, going into it. So, yeah. So how I got from there to here, I have no idea.
What impact has all this had on your family? I know you're a husband, you're a father to 2 children.
Yeah.
Talk about that for our listeners who are thinking about getting in this industry, who are struggling maybe with a store and they're just looking for some hope.
Yeah.
And maybe struggling in life too.
Oh, okay. Are you talking about my laundromat journey?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And then through, I mean, they're with you along the way.
Right. Yeah. Our laundromat journey for sure. Yeah, for sure. My wife's idea. I just want to point out for the record.
Again, the house in Hawaii.
She pretty quickly bailed on the laundromat and it became my responsibility. So I don't know how that happened, but
when you build it all back up and it's successful, she'll get credit again.
That's right. Yeah, she'll be right back.
I'm the reason
That's
we did that.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, look, I'm just gonna be honest because it was hard. It was hard on our marriage. It was hard. Like I remember, like I've spent holidays at those laundromats. I left just before one of my kids' birthday parties. People were showing up soon, and there was some emergency. I don't even remember what it was now, which should give me some insight as to what I should have done. But I remember leaving right before a birthday party while we were setting up to go deal with some urgent issue, and then scrambling back to be there for the party, right? Because that is the most important thing. But when you're a business owner too, stuff comes up, and you got to do it, and you don't get to choose when stuff comes up, right? And whenever there's financial pressure, that puts strain on relationships. And my kids have seen me have to I had to go on Christmas Eve one time because somebody had shoved a potato in the toilet, and I had called a plumber and paid them up front to go in there, and they got there and they said there's something solid in the toilet, and I said, and they're like, yeah, we can't get it out. And I was like, well, I know there's something solid in the toilet, like that's why I called you. And they left and they wouldn't do anything. I couldn't get anybody to come out, so I had to go out on Christmas Eve to get a potato out of the toilet, stuff like that. Nobody tells you that stuff. Right. And so there was a lot of strain on the marriage, on the relationship, and financial strain. But to give hope, here's what I would do different now. I would find people like you guys. I would find people who know something about the industry, and hopefully Laundromat Resource, one of my huge goals is to connect this industry up, right? And introduce people to people who can help in those situations, right? And there's been a ton of guests on the podcast, you guys included, you included, and you hopefully soon, to be included, who can help, if you find yourself in that situation, which hopefully you won't.
Yeah,
so.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, this week he did something on evaluating, overpaying in the front end, paying that stupid tax, He's got a lot of great resources over at Laundromat Resource,
It comes from personal insight and stuff you've learned from others along the way.
I think what's made it resonate and be successful is that transparency that you're willing to give, and that open honesty, that, hey, I don't know it all. But I've learned a lot, and I've been willing to learn, and I'm sharing this with you, so you don't have to go through that as well.
Yeah,
good stuff.
What does the future look like for Jordan Berry and Laundromat Resource?
The future is
the
bright.
Industry.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I've been blown away already by the growth of Laundromat Resource and the podcast. We're about to. Probably in the next week or two, we're going to cross 100,000 downloads, which is
that's amazing.
Laundromat, yeah.
That's awesome.
Which I don't say, for anything, but it just kind of blows me away.
Exciting.
Like,
Yeah, you put your heart and soul in.
yeah, and you do it, and you don't know. Like, is anybody gonna listen? Is anybody gonna care? Right? And for like a little laundromat podcast with no aspirations to do anything, like I don't know. I'm excited about that. That's pretty
Yeah,
cool.
that is cool.
And it's cool, because I put my heart and soul into it. But it's also cool because so many of those people have come back and said, hey, like, the interview with Luke or the interview with, Andrew Cunningham, has like totally changed my business, or, has helped me get into my business, and I'm on my way to financial freedom because of it, or, that kind of thing. So it's just cool to see that. So what does the future look like? It's evolving. It's like always kind of evolving, but, my goal is to continue to connect up people, in the industry with good people, continue to introduce owners to owners, to kind of try to break down some of the barriers, I think, in this industry where there's been like a culture of keeping quote unquote secrets and, not sharing and I think that's starting to get blown out of the water. So continuing to do that, but also to continue to just build tools and resources to help people get into the business, to help people optimize their laundromats once they do get in the business, and then to help scale out, the businesses like you guys have done, because, ultimately I think when business owners succeed, it's better for them, but it's also better for their customers, which are communities,
Yes,
right?
that's right.
And so, as Laundromat Resources started to evolve, I'm less focused on helping business owners, and I'm more focused on like, hey, what I'm doing can have huge impacts on entire communities.
That's good.
By helping business owners.
Yeah, see the big
It's a
picture.
byproduct.
Yeah.
We think about that a lot.
And that's a big deal, right? That's a big deal. And to be honest with you, laundromats have a unique ability to be able to do that more than I think probably any other business.
Absolutely.
And have the most
wild.
room to grow in that area
Yes,
too, because
the
there's
opportunity there is big.
huge. There's so many laundromats that aren't doing a great job, at that for communities, and so huge opportunity for communities. So, what specifically that looks like, I'm not sure,
Yeah.
but I think the future is bright for for Laundromat Resource. But I think the future is bright for our industry too, and a big part of that is because of guys like you guys who are doing big stuff. So, props to you guys.
Yeah. Thank you.
Wow, thank you. Thank you for what you're doing. Thank you for, this is all free for the world. We're online now. Everything's online,
We're in
I think
192 countries. I mean,
the old mentality.
In Antarctica.
The old mentality was kind of good old boys club, don't share anything, and I think we're breaking that kind of standard and everything. If I want to become a plumber, I can literally go online and YouTube how to do it, and I think that's the same with everything. And now we can help those people, say, buying your first laundry. If the Williford Brothers show or somebody else like it was out there, you could have freely gone and, okay, maybe I need to call those guys and learn some of those. So we want to do that, and Laundromat Resource, I think, wants to do that. And
there have always been barriers to entry into this industry, and I think that those that are necessary will still exist. But it's because people like you who are putting so much good content out that the barriers to entry that are typically around fear, lack of knowledge, self-doubt, those types of things are slowly falling, and the right people are coming into this industry because that's who we need. We need more great operators who want to serve people with excellence and change communities, like you said, and they can find it on the Williford Brothers, Laundromat Resource, so many places.
Yeah.
And that space is growing, and there's room for everybody. It's
There
amazing.
is. Yeah.
Yes, it's not fixed.
And not only the new guy who's wanting to get in, but the successful operators who are in the industry already and who've just been hiding, because this is a very lonely business. You can operate it successfully, and you make a lot of money, and you don't want to tell anybody. And why did the Williford Brothers do this? Why would they go on the show? They just need to run their laundromats and make their money. But there's more to life than money. There's more to life than business, and it's all about that people thing. You know what I mean? And I think hopefully we'll encourage other owners that are like, why are they doing, maybe I could pour into my community. Maybe I could be a resource to the guy up the street, or the guy, across the table. And I think the event this week is so great because online is great. You can get this information, but then when you meet each other, hey, I made a friend. You know what I mean? And
I watched too this weekend. I mean, you're talking about successful operators because we've kind of been focusing on the newbie, but I watched this weekend stuff happening, right? Successful owners get together and ideas start flowing and opportunities are created, and that's where things start going to another level, right? And when guys like you and guys like some of these other successful owners are getting together and talking about, well, hey, how can we do this bigger thing that maybe you guys couldn't do together but on your own, but you could do together.
Yes, exactly.
And now things are going, so there's value in that for the newbie, and there's a ton of value. And I think kind of the more down the line you are, from that newbie to you're trying to optimize your first location to you're scaling out, the further down that line you are, actually the more value this stuff has
absolutely
for you, because those opportunities create.
And we talk about our desire to bring technology into our industry so that we continue to improve our customer experiences, our efficiencies, and probably even our bottom lines. And the technology that we are on right now, I think, will have the biggest impact both in dollar signs and in people's lives, significant changes in people's lives. And so I think this is the technology that will continue to revolutionize our industry.
Yeah, I agree, and that's why I'm super pumped that you guys started this. I mean, I think, to be honest with you, it's like, where have you guys been? Like,
we jumped in.
You should have done this a long time ago. Like, this is awesome.
We were cleaning those drain valves and running those
you were
things
elbow deep in that.
And really, we've been blessed to get to a place where we have some time and we have great people, and it's all about the people. I mean, we've been able to bring people on. My favorite day of the year every year is our Christmas party. I mean, I cry, I laugh, I cry again. I mean, it's just so cool.
It's amazing to see the reward of a year's work and the team that is there to serve our customers and all come together and celebrate. It's
and
cool
their
thing.
kids and their kids' kids. I mean, we've got family generations, and even in the laundromat, you have generational customers, which is awesome.
Yep.
And those people are so important, and they're so grateful when we do things big. Because you were saying, not only do I help the laundry owner, but I'm helping the whole community.
Yeah.
And if you built stores by yourself, you couldn't grow quick enough to help communities in Houston, Texas, and North Carolina, and different areas. But you really are. It's a byproduct, and we just raise the bar together, and everyone benefits. The communities benefit.
And whatever industry you might happen to be in, if you're outside of the laundromat industry, this can happen in your industry too. It just takes having a humble servant spirit and a heart to serve other people with excellence. And whatever it is that you do it well. Do it well. Raise the bar.
Yeah, and that reminds me, I've got to know, can we hear the story on this shirt? Can you show this shirt?
Oh, yeah.
Live humble.
Live humble. Yeah, so this is a brainchild of my brother, but humility is like this. It's got like a negative connotation, right, in a lot of society, but I think of the book Ego is the Enemy, right? I think humility is the key to having a successful life. And what I mean by successful life is not necessarily that you're going to be the wealthiest person out there or anything like that, but living a fulfilled life. And I think it has to do with like, hey, we're all on the same ground, right? Like, you guys own 1,006 laundromats, or however many you guys are at now. I'm sure you've added a few since we've been here. But you guys are here humble, and you're sharing, what you've learned, and you don't feel, you're letting me be on your podcast, right? Like, you don't feel like you guys are above, anybody else, and like your employees or your customers. And, we heard you guys say that this weekend too. Like, there are owners out there in all kinds of different businesses who, think of their customers as a them kind of thing, and you guys are more of an us, type of owners, and just type of people in general, right? And that's what I think Live Humble is all about, is being us.
That's good.
There's bring yourself level, because that's where you're at anyways, and the people who other people, or even sometimes ourselves, like we might look at, and our initial thought is, they're lower, right? Elevate them, right? Because we're all valuable. We're all on the same the same
That's
level
good.
and have that us mentality.
Yep.
Yeah, that's great.
So good. So
Well, thank
good.
you, Jordan, for joining us. This
Yeah.
has been a fantastic episode.
Yeah.
And get connected with Jordan. Tell us how everybody can get connected. Where?
laundromatresource.com and pretty much all the social medias that
Awesome.
you love. So.
Awesome. Reach out to him. Thank you for being here. Like, subscribe, all of his YouTube stuff. Get connected with him. And again, thank you for being here, Jordan. And thank you guys for watching. We don't take it for granted. We appreciate you. And yeah, share this, like this, subscribe, do all those great things. We love you guys. God bless you guys. And yeah, again, Jordan, thank you for being here. This was great.
It's my honor.